Okay, this is Super Kaiju Nation, and right now I'm going to be talking about the Heisei King Ghidorah. It would be several decades before King Ghidorah would return to the Godzilla franchise, and when he did, it was awesome, of course. And his weight and his height was dramatically increased for the film. In the 1990 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, which also featured his alter ego, Mecha King Ghidorah. Okay, let's talk about his height on the film. He's 150 meters. His wingspan in the film was 175 meters. His weight was 70,000 metric tons. And in the film, he's made by Dorats, a small, cute-looking Ghidorah-like creatures in the beginning, because the aliens from the future, they're actually... Okay, I want to talk about the film a little bit, because this is not really about the film, but this film has a lot of very anti-American sentiments in it, because the villains of the film are actually Americans, and they're from the future, and they want to take over Japan, or they want to destroy Japan, because Japan is going to rise and become a more powerful, a superpower of sorts. So in this particular film where he comes on, there's a lot of very anti-American sentiments on it. It's actually pretty controversial if you think about it. If you look it through the film in a microscope, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And so his original appearance is on Lagos Islands, and he's controlled by the Futurians, as they are known. And the film was written by Kazuki Imori, and the design was from Shinji Nishikawa. And let's talk about the guys who controlled the creature on this film. Is Kazu Moris, Tachiro Hamatani, Tanaba Yashidani, and Tishuki Hurapa, and also Maso Tushi Abe, Seiji Yokohama, and Kuniro Komatsu. And okay, let's talk about it says, and the actor that portrayed in the suit was Hurricane. He's known as Hurricane Ryu Hakurin. Pretty awesome stuff, right? So it's always good to know about. I always want to know who played the suit, who was in the suit. So, and time traveling, as the film is illustrates, time traveling villains from the year 2000. 204 bring to Japan to their knees. The past that what they do is they want to get rid of Godzilla, because they want to be able to destroy Japan and make sure it doesn't thrive or become a superpower. So they trick the humans into time traveling into the past to make Godzilla disappear. And in that film, because this is not really about Godzilla in that, but I want to talk about that a little bit. And so what they do is they trick the humans into making Godzilla disappear. He's erased from the timeline, and therefore he no longer exists. And of course, later in the film, he would return to defeat King Ghidorah. And so what's really interesting in this film, there's time traveling, there's also the anti-American sentiments on it, and King Ghidorah's design is really slightly tweaked, but he looks more like a modernized version of the original Showa era. So it's a really amazing story, and as well as a great take on him. I want to talk about the development of the creature. So, the modeled under Shiki Theater Company modeling of King Ghidorah's suit was supervised by Kaiju Morris. Has also worked on modeling Showa's incarnation original suit, and while the individual body parts were handled by different modelers, King Ghidorah's head was modeled by other people like Tashiro Hatamani, his tails by Tanishi Dani, and the other parts were modeled by Toshiki. It's like I said, Dashiki. Hopura, okay, and also Machiui Abe, and then Seiji Yokohama. and the guys I just mentioned previously. So yeah, really there was only slight modifications to the suit and designs of the head. So this is more of like a super King Ghidorah type creation that they did. So the Heisei's incarnation, the heads were based on more Western dragons. So this time around, if you guys noticed, the original design was from a Russian dragon that I mentioned. And a lot of people are not aware of that actually, but this design was more based on Western dragons, which is very popular, of course, in folklore. So let's and so it says here, what I read, it says that the hair on King Ghidorah's heads were removed because it was too difficult for the special effects staff to supervise it, or every individual hair over footage of people fleeing. That's kind of strange, isn't it? But it makes a lot of sense. They removed the head and they replaced it with a lot of multiple horns and things coming out of his towards the end of his head, and he had like a horn, more, how do you say, more designs incorporated straighter devil-like horns, two large horns on the top of his heads, and smaller horns running down their sides. The tips of the tail resemble more spiky rather than the feathery, because you guys remember the original show, I had more like a Japanese Chinese dragon, feathery end. So 1/3 scale miniature King Ghidorah prop was created for the flying scenes. Because you guys know what that is. They use models. They use practical. That's what Suit Nation is, really, like practical effects. So it says I read before all this. I was I was just really surprised because you think you know a lot of things about Godzilla, but you don't know a whole lot until you actually really really delve into it. And it's a lot of fun, of course, and the Bandai figure says that used cast shadows on the miniature city sets when King Ghidorah was supposed to be flying overhead. That that's really noticeable. I don't know if you guys noticed that in the film when it shows him they used a Bandai toy to do that scene, which is pretty. That's pretty cheap in my opinion. But then again, this is practical effects, which is which made Godzilla such a household name. But I kind of you kind of noticed that. Okay, and it says it says 2 piano wires were used to control each of King Ghidorah's necks. 2 were used for each tail, 2 were used for each wing, and 2 were used for the torso, leading to a total of 16 wires to operate the suit. Holy moly! 16 wires. 9 puppeteers operated the wires and were able to realistically simulate King Ghidorah's movements by turning and moving the suit very slowly. The actor who was inside of it completely separate. The costume made from fiber reinforced plastic was created for Mecha King Ghidorah. So they used fiber to that metallic. I don't know if what they mean is fiberglass, but anyways, unlike the organic King Ghidorah suit, no actor was played inside of it. So that's really cool. So for Mecha King Ghidorah, there was no actor inside of the suit. So that's pretty awesome. And it looks like it was really difficult for them to do that. So they used a 1/3 scale King Ghidorah flying prop next to an animatronic bust of Godzilla's upper body for the scene, so that you guys could tell, like those of us that have taken classes on film and film editing and special stuff like that about special effects will probably know that. So it's a really awesome, a pretty awesome design, and yeah. So one last thing before I talk about because next I'll be talking about the next iteration of King Ghidorah. But so this King Ghidorah was actually pretty massive. He was usually taller than Godzilla, but this one in particular was really huge, really massive. And later on, of course, King Ghidorah's size would be slightly decreased for the next film. All right, so King Ghidorah 1991 was a very uh, updated and very more fearsome looking version of King Ghidorah, because King Ghidorah, out of a lot of the monsters you see in the original movies, was very they were, they were fierce looking, but they weren't as intimidating looking as like this one did later on in the Heisei era, because the Heisei era, the Suit Nation was more advanced and there was better special effects around that time. And so King Ghidorah 1991. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. This is Super Kaiju Nation, and I will see you guys soon for the next one, because this is King Ghidorah month.